You spent hundreds of dollars on a soundbar because your TV speakers sounded terrible. But now movies feel flat, dialogue is buried under bass, and that Dolby Atmos badge on the box seems like a complete lie. Here's the brutal truth. Your soundbar isn't the problem. You're making one or more of 5 critical mistakes that are absolutely destroying your audio experience, and I'm about to show you exactly what they are and how to fix them in the next 20 minutes. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and drop a like if you're tired of disappointing sound. Tell me in the comments which soundbar you're using right now and what frustrations you're dealing with, whether it's muffled dialogue, weak bass, or Atmos effects that don't exist. Mistake 1. Choosing the wrong soundbar for your room. The first and possibly most expensive mistake happens before you even unbox anything. You walk into Best Buy or browse Amazon and grab whatever soundbar is on sale or has the most impressive feature list without thinking for 1 second about whether it actually matches your room size. This is like buying snow tires for a desert road trip. The product itself might be great, but it's completely wrong for your situation. Let me explain what happens when the size mismatch goes wrong. If you buy a small 2.0 or 2.1 soundbar, essentially just a bar with maybe a tiny subwoofer, and stick it in a large living room that's 300 square feet or bigger, the sound will be thin and weak. Action movie explosions that should rattle your chest feel like distant pops. The soundbar is working as hard as it can, but it simply doesn't have the driver size or power output to fill that much space with convincing audio. It's like trying to heat a mansion with a space heater. The opposite problem is just as bad. If you buy a massive 9.1 channel soundbar system with a huge subwoofer and wireless rear speakers, then cram it into a tiny bedroom or apartment, the sound becomes overwhelming and unpleasant. The bass booms way too loud because there's not enough room volume to absorb it. Dialogue sounds harsh and aggressive because you're sitting too close to powerful drivers. The surround effects don't work properly because the rear speakers are practically next to your head instead of behind you at a distance. You've brought a flamethrower to light a candle. Here's the simple guideline that will save you from this mistake. For rooms up to about 150 square feet, like a small bedroom or office, a 2.1 soundbar is plenty. That's a bar with left and right channels plus a subwoofer. For medium rooms between 150 and 250 square feet, step up to a 3.1 system which adds a dedicated center channel for clearer dialogue. For large living rooms over 250 square feet, you want at least a 5.1 setup with a proper subwoofer and ideally wireless rear speakers to create genuine surround sound. Now here's where marketing confusion comes in. Many soundbars are labeled as Dolby Atmos ready or Atmos capable, and people assume that means they're getting premium immersive audio. But Atmos is just a format. What matters is whether the soundbar actually has the hardware to deliver it. A budget soundbar might technically decode Atmos signals, but if it only has 2 small drivers and no upward firing speakers for height effects, you're not getting real Atmos. You're getting a marketing claim. Always check the actual driver count and configuration, not just the badge on the box. Mistake 2. Wrong placement and mounting. Even if you bought exactly the right soundbar for your room size, you can completely sabotage its performance with bad placement. The most common and most destructive placement mistake I see is putting the soundbar inside a TV cabinet. I understand why people do this. It looks clean, everything's organized in one piece of furniture, and you don't have to deal with wall mounting. But acoustically, it's a disaster. Modern soundbars aren't simple boxes with front-firing speakers. They have side-firing drivers that bounce sound off your walls to create a wider soundstage. They have upward-firing drivers that reflect off your ceiling for Atmos height effects. When you stick the soundbar inside a cabinet, those side and upward drivers are firing directly into wooden shelves instead of into your room. The sound gets trapped, muffled, and completely loses its spatial characteristics. It's like trying to have a conversation with someone while they're locked in a closet. The fix is simple, but requires commitment. Get that soundbar out of the cabinet entirely. It needs to sit in front of your TV stand with nothing blocking it on any side. Or it needs to be wall-mounted directly below your TV with complete clearance all around. If your soundbar has upward firing Atmos drivers, the top surface must be completely exposed with at least an inch or two of clearance above it. No shelves, no decorations, nothing blocking those drivers from reaching your ceiling. The second placement issue is height and angle. Many people mount their TVs high on the wall, which is fine, but then they leave the soundbar sitting on a low media console 3 or 4 feet below the TV. Now the sound is coming from way below where you're looking, and your brain notices this disconnect. Dialogue feels separated from the actors' mouths. The whole experience feels disjointed. Ideally, the soundbar should be positioned so that when you're sitting normally, the drivers are approximately at ear level. If your TV is wall-mounted, mount the soundbar on the wall too, about 6 inches below the TV, angled slightly downward towards your seating. This creates a cohesive sound image where the audio seems to come from the screen itself. If you can't wall mount, at least make sure there's a clear line of sight from the soundbar to your ears with no obstructions. Room acoustics play a role here too. In open-plan American living rooms, sound can get lost in all that space, especially if you have high ceilings and hard floors. In European homes with lots of built-in furniture, heavy drapes, and dense shelving, sound bounces everywhere, creating echo and muddiness. If your room has lots of hard reflective surfaces like glass, tile, or bare walls, consider adding some soft elements like a rug, curtains, or even throw pillows to absorb some reflections. You don't need professional acoustic treatment, just breaking up those hard surfaces helps tremendously. Mistake 3. Using the wrong connection. This is the mistake that drives me absolutely crazy because it's so easy to fix but ruins performance so dramatically. Most people connect their soundbar using whatever cable seems easiest or whatever came in the box, without understanding that the cable you choose determines what audio quality you can possibly get. The most common bad choice is using an optical cable, also called Toslink. Many soundbars include an optical cable, and many TVs have optical outputs that are easy to find, so people use them. The problem is optical cables don't have enough bandwidth for modern audio formats. When you use optical, you're limited to basic Dolby Digital and DTS. You cannot get Dolby Atmos, you cannot get DTS-X, and you cannot get lossless audio from Blu-rays or high-quality streaming. You're listening to compressed audio even though your soundbar is capable of so much more. The correct connection is HDMI ARC, or even better, HDMI eARC. ARC stands for Audio Return Channel, and it lets your TV send audio back to your soundbar through an HDMI cable. The enhanced version, ARC, supports full uncompressed audio including Atmos with no quality loss. Look at your TV's HDMI ports and find the one labeled ARC or ARC, usually HDMI 1 or the last port. Connect a high-speed HDMI cable from that port to your soundbar's HDMI ARC port. But here's where people mess up even with the right cable. They connect HDMI ARC properly, then leave their TV audio settings on the wrong output mode. Most TVs default to PCM audio output, which converts everything to basic stereo and throws away all the surround and Atmos information. You need to go into your TV's audio settings and change the output mode to bitstream, auto, or pass-through, depending on your TV brand. This tells the TV to send the raw audio signal to your soundbar without converting it, letting the soundbar decode Atmos and surround formats properly. Also enable HDMI SEC, which might be called AnyNet Plus on Samsung, SimpLink on LG, or Bravia Sync on Sony. This allows your TV remote to control the soundbar volume and lets the devices communicate. On some TVs like Sony, you also need to enable enhanced HDMI format for each HDMI port to unlock ARC bandwidth. Another common mistake is connecting sources to the TV first, then relying on the TV to pass audio to the soundbar. Many TVs recompress or downmix audio when they pass it through, even with correct settings. If your soundbar has HDMI inputs, connect your sources like game consoles, streaming boxes, or Blu-ray players directly to the soundbar, then use HDMI out to the TV. This gives you cleaner audio paths without the TV potentially messing with the signal. Mistake 4. Ignoring calibration and settings. Here's a mistake that makes me want to pull my hair out. People unbox their soundbar, plug it in, and never touch a single setting. They assume it's tuned perfectly out of the box and will automatically sound great in their room. This is completely wrong. Every room has different acoustics, different speaker placement, and different furniture affecting the sound. Your soundbar cannot possibly be optimized for your specific situation without some calibration. Most modern soundbars have automatic calibration features built in. Sonos has TruePlay that uses your iPhone's microphone. Samsung has SpaceFit Sound that uses your TV's microphone. LG has AI Sound Pro. Yamaha soundbars have EPOW. These systems play test tones, measure how sound reflects in your room, then apply EQ and timing corrections to optimize performance. The improvement is dramatic, often transforming muddy bass into tight impact and buried dialogue into crystal clarity. But you have to actually run the calibration, and most people never do. Find the calibration feature in your soundbar's app or settings menu. Make sure the room is quiet, no TV playing, no talking, no appliances running. Follow the prompts, which usually involve holding your phone and slowly moving it around the listening area while test tones play. Let the process complete fully. The difference before and after calibration is night and day. Even if your soundbar doesn't have auto calibration, there are manual adjustments you should make. Most soundbars have preset modes like movie, music, standard, sports, and game. These aren't just marketing gimmicks, they actually change the EQ and processing significantly. Movie mode typically enhances bass and surround effects. Music mode focuses on clarity and stereo imaging. Sports mode brightens dialogue and reduces bass. Game mode minimizes audio lag. The problem is people pick one mode, usually standard or movie, and leave it there permanently. Then they watch a basketball game and wonder why the announcer sounds muddy. Or they listen to Spotify and wonder why music sounds boomy. Match the mode to your content. Use movie for films and shows, music when streaming albums, game when playing video games, and sports for live broadcasts. Dialogue enhancement is another critical setting that people ignore. If you struggle to hear conversations in movies or TV shows, your soundbar probably has a voice boost, dialogue enhancement, or clear voice mode. Enable it. This lifts the center channel frequencies where human speech lives, making words more intelligible without having to crank the overall volume. It's especially useful for British dramas with mumbly actors or action movies where dialogue gets buried under explosions. Night mode is incredibly useful, but underutilized. It compresses the dynamic range, reducing the difference between loud and soft sounds. Explosions won't wake your neighbors, and whispered dialogue won't disappear. You can watch at reasonable volumes late at night while still hearing everything clearly. This isn't cheating or reducing quality, it's using the right tool for the situation. Mistake 5. Wrong source content and mode matching. The final mistake is the one that confuses people the most because they think their soundbar is broken when the real problem is what they're feeding it. You can have a perfect soundbar setup with flawless placement and calibration, but if you're playing low-quality source content or using the wrong playback settings, it will still sound disappointing. Let me start with streaming services. Not all streaming content has Dolby Atmos or even good surround sound. Ad-supported tiers on services like Netflix and Hulu use heavily compressed audio to save bandwidth. Even premium tiers vary by show and movie. You need to specifically look for content marked with the Dolby Atmos or 5.1 surround badge. If you're watching something that only has stereo audio, your soundbar is doing its best to upmix it into surround, but it's creating an illusion from limited source material. Your streaming device matters too. If you're using a cheap streaming stick or watching Netflix through your TV's built-in apps, you might not be getting the highest quality audio even when it's available. Check your device's audio settings. Make sure it's set to output Dolby Digital Plus or Auto for best quality, not forced to stereo PCM. Some older streaming devices simply can't pass Atmos at all. If you're serious about sound, invest in an Apple TV 4K, NVIDIA Shield, or recent Fire TV Stick 4K Max that properly supports modern audio formats. Cable and satellite boxes are notorious for audio problems. Many default to stereo output or low bitrate Dolby Digital. Dive into the audio settings on your set-top box and look for options like Dolby Digital Plus, Bitstream, or Auto. You might discover you've been listening to stereo cable audio for years even though the broadcasts include surround sound. Gaming is another area where people mess up settings. Modern consoles like PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X support Dolby Atmos, but only if you configure them correctly. In the console audio settings, you need to enable Atmos or Bitstream output. Many games support object-based 3D audio that will dramatically improve immersion, but only if your whole chain from console to soundbar is set up right. Here's a subtle mistake many people make. They set their soundbar to game mode for low latency when playing video games, which is correct, but then they forget to switch back to movie mode when they start watching Netflix afterward. Game mode is optimized for fast response and clear directional audio, not for rich cinematic sound. It sounds thin and bright during movies. Similarly, people leave music mode on all the time because they like how it sounds with Spotify, then wonder why explosions in action movies sound weak. Always match your soundbar mode to what you're actually doing. Lip sync or audio delay is related to this. Different sources and different modes can introduce varying amounts of lag between video and audio. If you notice actors' lips don't match the words you're hearing, your soundbar probably has an audio delay setting. Increase the delay in small increments until the sync is perfect. This setting often needs adjustment when you switch between different sources or activities, so don't set it once and forget it. Why these mistakes destroy your experience? The reason these 5 mistakes are so devastating is that they're cumulative. Maybe you bought the right soundbar for your room, but you stuck it in a cabinet, used an optical cable, never ran calibration, and you're watching compressed streaming content. Each mistake chips away at the potential audio quality until you're left with maybe 20 or 30% of what your soundbar can actually deliver. You blame the soundbar, write a bad review, and tell your friends that soundbars are overrated, when the reality is you just never set it up properly. The good news is, every single one of these mistakes is fixable without spending another dollar. You don't need to buy new gear. You need to take an hour to properly place your soundbar, switch to the right cables, run calibration, adjust settings for different content, and verify your source devices are configured correctly. That 1 hour of effort will transform your audio experience more than upgrading to a soundbar that costs twice as much. These 5 soundbar mistakes, wrong room sizing, bad placement, incorrect cables, skipped calibration, and mismatched source settings, are ruining the TV and movie experience for millions of people who think they just bought mediocre products. The truth is that a properly set up mid-range soundbar will dramatically outperform an expensive soundbar that's been installed carelessly. Audio quality isn't just about the gear you buy, it's about understanding how that gear works and optimizing it for your specific room and usage. If you're guilty of one or more of these mistakes, don't feel bad. The manufacturers don't make this stuff obvious, and most people just want things to work without reading manuals or diving into settings menus. But now that you know exactly what to fix, you have no excuse. Spend a little time this weekend correcting these issues, and I promise you'll be shocked by how much better everything sounds. If this video helped you finally understand why your soundbar has been disappointing, smash that like button and subscribe for more practical home theater advice. Drop a comment telling me which of these 5 mistakes you were making and how much difference fixing it made. Let's help each other get the audio experience we actually paid for. Thanks for watching, and enjoy that dramatically better sound you're about to unlock.